stage, Mr. Mike Manchin.
I'm looking at a homemade pies sign, handwritten in black marker, all capital letters, exclamation point for emphasis. Homemade pies. Behind it is a rack of pies, presumably homemade. Presumably the homemade pies that the sign is so enthusiastic about. Behind that is a counter, behind that is a woman, she's large. That's one of the things that happens to you if you work behind a homemade pie rack all day. I'm as excited about the potential for homemade pies as the sign is. And as I get out as I get out my wallet to buy some, I make conversational pie foreplay with the woman. So you make the pies yourselves? Well, she says, and then without the customary consequent pause to think of an excuse, they're homemade style. I put away my wallet. At the risk of losing sponsorship from the tourism boards of Wyoming and South Dakota, I'd like to set the record straight about this part of the country. First of all, it is, as advertised here in the city, a part absolutely overflowing with natural beauty. The same natural beauty, mile after mile after fabulous mile. It's a part where carving pictures into mountains and charging $20 to see them is a major source of income. It's a part where a roadside sign will say Wonderland Cave and point across the highway to nothing. It's a part where mini golf is your #1 entertainment option, a part where knocking on the door of a public restroom is an art either never learned or long ago forgotten. It's a part that only 150 years ago was the edge of the world, the American frontier, and a part that even today includes 3 of the 4 least populous states in the country. It's a part with which I'm not well acquainted, and in which I have not a single acquaintance. It's a part where you walk into a home cooking cafe, and your hamburger comes out in less than 5 minutes. And the pies falsely advertised as homemade are homemade style. The large woman is now also looking down at the homemade pies sign. Without a hint of sarcasm, she supposes in some sort of weird effort at sympathy, I can see why you think they'd be homemade. 17 days ago, I left Boston with a simple mission, to drive a vegetable oil-powered car across the country while following 5 community-focused rules. First, no using the interstates. 2, no staying in hotels or motels. 3, no paying for anything with credit. 4, no shopping at chain stores. 5, no eating at chain restaurants. Until I hit South Dakota. Everything was great. Then, in my day and a half in the Rushmore State, the wheels almost literally came off. I got attacked by a turtle, by some bucks, and a peacock. I experienced a true Midwestern thunderstorm with no shelter. I became food deprived, sleep deprived, and happiness deprived. I was offered false hope about homemade pie, but with genuine gusto. Understandably, when I pull into Keyhole State Park, my first reaction is, thank God. After the stress I've put myself through in South Dakota, I'm pleasantly surprised to find a literal oasis in northeastern Wyoming. In the midst of hundreds of miles of rocky terrain, a lake apparently fell from the sky, birthed a bed of pine trees, and rose quickly into the top spots among the most beautiful places on earth. I arrive at sunset, park my car in a gravel roundabout by the lake, and look at my camping options. The best choice, I decide, is situated about 3 camping spots away from my car, 30 feet back and up from the lake. Between that camping spot and my vehicle is another campsite, occupied by a group of 4, 2 men, a lady, and a dog. As I unload my things back and forth past them, the dog keeps tabs on me, barking at me each time I cross his path. One of the men, who's a muscular sort, scorns it stiffly every time it does so. I'm sorry about that, he tells me. As a peace gesture, he comes over later to my campsite after I unload, bearing an electric lantern for me to borrow. Thanks, I say, that's really nice. Hey, I've been there, he answers. It sucks trying to set up a tent in the dark. Just bring it back over when you're done. When I thank him again, twice in a row, in my extra polite southern way, he says, not a problem, in his super casual Wyoming who gives a shit way. He does introduce himself as Adam before he leaves, and he saunters back over to the other man, the lady, and the dog. I set up my tent and return the lantern, and then I lie on a cliff at the edge of the site, watching the stars reflect in the lake and trying insincerely to distinguish between the heavens and the earth. I lie there a long time, a patient working through the trauma of his recent past. I'm tempted to let myself fall asleep there on that cliff, but I know that one bad dream would mean that I become well acquainted with the earth below and with heaven above. Using the last of my willpower, I drag myself back to my tent and fall into a real sleep for the first time in 36 hours. The darkness I fell asleep to is there when I wake up. The tranquility that guided me to bed is not. This is the sound of my alarm clock. Fuck you. That's Adam. This is the sound of the lady. Leave him alone. Luckily, they aren't talking to or about me, but they are talking very, very close to me. And by talking, I mean screaming at the top of their lungs, and they're drunk, like really, really drunk. Stop it, you've had too much to drink. That's the lady again, confirming my suspicion. The yelling gets louder and louder. Fuck you, Derek, just go fuck yourself. That's Adam again. We're supposed to be family. That's the other guy, who will soon become apparent is Adam's brother. His name is Derek. I've been taking care of you. That's Adam. Bullshit, Derek. They carry on, fighting like characters in a Sam Shepard play. One owes the other everything and then nothing. The names of parents are revoked. Past harms come back to the front of their minds. Anger erupts, and the voices don't get any quieter. Moving as slowly as possible, I turn on my cell phone, which has been misbehaving for the last couple of months. It shows me Sanyo, and then turns itself back off. I try again. Sanyo. It turns off. I try again. Sanyo, off. Sanyo, off. Fuck you, Sanyo. Inside, Sanyo. Outside, fuck you. Inside, Sanyo. Fuck you. Scuffle, stream, scuffle, Sanyo. Now they're fighting, like, fighting. Get off of him. That's the lady. You need your bitch to do your fighting for you? That's Adam, who apparently took a class in the fighting words of misogynist cinematic stereotypes. As if to further prove that point, he warns Derek, get your bitch off of me, Derek, I swear, get her off of me. And then I hear these words from the man who nonchalantly lent me his lantern the night before. Oh, I see you got yourself a little knife. You know that part in Back to the Future? Where Marty, he's trying to get back to the future, and he slams his head on the dashboard of the car because it won't start, and then it starts and goes just in time. I think my phone was inspired by that because right at that moment, it was like the knife cue was its cue, and it just says, Sanyo, turns on! Except to complete the analogy, if it were Back to the Future, the flux capacitor would be missing, and Doc would have broken his neck, and the lightning would never come. Because my cell phone, first of all, it didn't work even when it was on. There was no reception in these parts anyway, and whatever call I might place would be overheard, and I don't think Adam would be very nonchalant about me calling the police on him. So all that analogy is to say that it's about 4 a.m. I find out. The scuffling and the yelling continue, ebbing and flowing for over an hour. I lie in the dark and listen until finally Derek, the younger brother, runs off to his car, which is parked right by mine. His girlfriend, who's the lady, goes with him. And Adam, the movie stereotype, yells after them in his typical nomenclature. You better fucking run, Derek. You're a dead man. The hit's already out. You got 4 hours to disappear. Derek's car drives away on the gravel. Then quiet, within and without, for about 10 minutes. Having grown up in a stable family home, I had never experienced true domestic violence. I had never seen firsthand the devastating effects of alcoholism. Whatever squabbles happened within my family took place with a certain sense of immunity. No matter how great an argument, it was understood that family as a whole would persevere. I lie quietly now in the oasis in Wyoming, 2,000 miles from my own family, but a camping spot away from the bombed out remains of another. When Adam breaks the tranquility again, it's hard to tell that it's him. He's placing a phone call to what must be his girlfriend. I used to be real nasty, he says, speaking softly, thoughtfully, with a vocabulary that almost sounds human. Man, I don't want to go back to being that. Whoever's on the other end of the line offers to come see him, and he accepts. As the sun is coming up, another car pulls in on the gravel, replacing Derek's. Doors open and close, and moments later I hear three voices. One I know well by now as Adam. One is his visitor, his girlfriend. And the third voice is the upset cries of a baby. Adam tries to comfort it. I listen in disbelief to hear the man who woke me with his screams, gooing and guying himself for the approval of an infant. Soon he and his girlfriend crawl into a tent with the ignorant child. I listen to them whisper until it's quiet, and then convinced that it's safe to do so, I quietly pack up my tent and sneak past their camping spot. The dog ignores me. I start my car and leave, heading west. Behind me, the cycle begins again.